Okay, it's just gone 7. We've got almost full attendance. We've got one who hasn't appeared, but maybe she will be along short. He will be along shortly. Right, welcome to the April Upwell Parish Council meeting. Apologies, we've got apologies from Christine Aston
Chris Dawson.
and Chris Dawson.
And Councillor Robinson as well.
Yeah.
Sorry, Councillor Robinson, he passed his apologies. Is he right? Okay.
No,
Thanks.
that's okay.
No point in waiting any longer for him then. Okay, thank you. As usual, just to remind everybody that if there's any item they've got a conflict of interest in, either financial or otherwise, declare it when we get to the item on the agenda that we're now. The minutes of the last meeting have been circulated. I wasn't at the last meeting, obviously, so I need other people to confirm their veracity. Could I have a hold in a second that they're okay, please? That was Richard followed very closely, but thank you. Okay, sorry.
We've also got finance minutes as well.
Oh right, I beg your pardon.
Very briefly.
Yes, they were circulated. I forgot that we had a meeting of the finance committee which was circulated as well. Is everybody happy with those? Andrew?
What's the alteration on number 5 for the Queen's Platinum Jubilee? The Council A Harrison will do the same for water bottles. I didn't. I think that was probably
I think it was Bill, wasn't it?
Bill who was going to sort out.
That's right,
Bill
yeah.
said that.
Yeah, the bill for water bottles and you for the pen and pencil cases.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I'll change that.
Thank you. We'll amend that in the final record. Thank you, Andrew. So with that amendment, are we happy with those minutes? Yeah, Andrew and Pru. Thank you. Can you sign those?
Yes, please.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. So now at this point we're going to have our public forum. So, does any members of the public here wish to speak tonight? Sue?
Just to say that there will be some letters going around to freehold residents and hirers of the hall and users of the hall, etc. And obviously, the Parish Council as a user of the hall, but also as custodial trustees. At our AGM, which is coming up on the 23rd of April, we are having to ask residents what they would like to do with their village hall and playing field, because as things are at the moment, it can't continue without some more physical assistance from volunteer stroke trustees in lots of different forms, and really and truly is trying to see whether there is enough interest in the village to keep everything running, because the village hall is ultimately owned by the people of Freehold, and you know they need to be asked whether they want it and what they want to do with it, and in that case there will be a few suggestions in the letter, you know, and obviously we're asking people for their suggestions. So that's just a bit of an advance notice. They should have been back from the printer, like Parish Magazine, but they're not back from the printer yet. Otherwise, I would have brought one with you. I could have printed them off, but I thought, well, I might as well just give you the sort of like précis, and then I'll, you know, send the letters on.
Thank you very much. Nobody else want to comment on this public forum?
Purely here to observe and listen,
Okay, thank you, Brian.
so I can moan later.
He's
Nothing new there then?
Yeah.
I'll do it, mate.
Okay, let's press on to the next item on the agenda then, which is the action log, which I'll go through and we'll take one item at a time. First item on there is the village feature, which Mayor Culper, we need a meeting about this, and I said I would organise one, and I just literally haven't had time to do this. I apologise, and I will try my best to set something organised before the next parish council meeting if I can.
So that's an action from tomorrow.
Thank you. Toynton's Road. There are some signs up now, aren't there? Saying traffic in the middle of the road as you come from Three Hills to Upwell. So I think that's, I'm not sure the road markings are any whiter than they were before, but there are no signs up. Anybody want to add to my observations?
Came through that way this afternoon, but I didn't bother to look.
No, I just
Signs
noticed the
definitely,
signs I was
yeah.
driving through a few days ago. Okay. So probably we can take that item off the agenda now if the signs are up. That's what we're paying
Whether
for.
you could ask, so.
I can.
You can ask.
Yeah.
I did email you, do you remember?
We'll take that item off the agenda, off the action log, but if obviously we have any further worries from residents in the Toynton's Road area, if they make those known to us, we can obviously take that up with the borough, the county council highways. Right, the map board situation. Do you want to give us a little update on that, Ross?
Still ongoing. It's where it was pretty much last time when I emailed a couple of rounds to everybody so they could see where we were. And then we're just waiting for walls, etc. The public right-of-ways were being added to that now. But the design is still working on it. So,
You did circulate something which I thought was quite promising, actually.
yeah, that's his initial sort of findings. And then we're going to get a bit more involved with it, with detail. And then it'll go back out for discussion and whether everyone's happy or not.
Thank you. We'll keep that
It's still
going on here then. Thank you. Have we had any progress on the building on Dovecote Road?
Well, Chris has had a chat with highways, and they're in a situation now when they're considering forcing building control to remove the panels on it. That's the current situation. That is very discussed.
So basically county council are taking this forward now, aren't they? And they're obviously running with it. So should we remove it from our action log on the basis that our bit is done and that we've drawn the attention of the relevant people? Are you happy for that? Yep, thank you. The land opposite School Road, again, there has been some work done here. I don't think anybody's planning to do any more. Do you?
No, they're still looking to see who actually owns that bit of land, I think, but the hedge has been cut. There was one single branch, I think, that Andrew mentioned that has now been dealt with.
Yeah.
Again, then I suggest that keeping this on here just to be told Norfolk County Council and the Academy are discussing it probably isn't getting us very far. So should we remove that from our action log as well? Yep, thank you. Did I miss one? I did. No, I beg your pardon. So because I was thinking about it and I realised I hadn't wrote it down. The solar lights on low side. Jill, do you have anything to tell us about that?
Well, excuse me. It nearly happened on the 24th of March.
Nearly happened, did it happen? Nearly, right.
Well, it was booked in, it was slotted in, and they had trouble, so they didn't get here, but they're waiting for the next slot.
Okay. There was an email which raised, was there worry that we wouldn't get the parish partnership funding if it wasn't done by the end of the financial year?
Yeah.
I have been meeting them 2 or 3 times to make sure they're carrying it out.
So have you had that reassurance?
Yeah.
Right, okay, that's all right. Thank you. So hopefully, cross fingers,
Yeah.
by next month, you never know you're like, yes, okay, thank you. Right, just go down. Again, the solar lights, is that on in the extend through, that's actually waiting for us to see how we get on with those ones, so that's leave that as it stands. Okay. The last meeting you mentioned that there had been commencement of work cutting back the shrubbery at the road, Marchmont Priory Farm. How has anybody noticed how that's gone?
That's been done.
Peter.
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah.
Has the sign been replaced?
Yeah.
Excellent, so we can take that off the agenda as well. The early election
I
of
wonder if we should, just out of courtesy, like we did with the people who live in town, to just write a letter to sort of thank them for their cooperation, because then that goes a long way
Yes.
to the next
Yes,
one.
we will do that. Official letter to Mr. Harding, Dr. Harding, to tell him that we're, thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Andrew. Right, the cemetery. There is a meeting, eventually, we've been pestering to have this meeting since about November, to actually get, because they agreed in principle to go ahead with it. We agreed in our meeting to go ahead with, and we've been trying to get a meeting to progress that ever since. And we now have a date for that later this month, don't we?
I want to say the 29th. I know
It's
it's the
20
end.
something, isn't
Yeah,
it?
it's more the end of the month.
So hopefully we'll have something to report back to council next month once that meeting has taken place. We had an email from the chap who did the plan for the extension, and I emailed him back just to say that everything was on hold until this issue with the brother councillor who was going to have long-term responsibility was sorted out, so he knows where we are with that. Right, next item, the Dodge style situation. For those of you who aren't aware, enforcement action was taken several weeks ago by the county council, and under police supervision, all the restrictions were removed and taken back to the county council depot. Under law, after so many days, the owner of the equipment can go and claim it back, which they did, and it was reinstalled within the last 2 or 3 days. When I went down there yesterday for my walk, the gates were all back in position at both ends of Dodge style. The parish council informed Chris Dawson, the county council who's been dealing with this for us, that the stuff has been put back, and he is now passing that information through to the people of the county council who did the enforcement action. I have no idea what the next thing will be, but I imagine it will involve the courts, but I don't know. So that's where we are with Dodge style. The Baptist Road Dyke, anybody, either Roz or Colin, got anything to report on this one? Because I think they had originally said they didn't think there was a problem, but then we went back to them and said we did think there was a problem. So where are we with that?
I haven't spoken to Dale Boyce to try and get hold of him. He's said COVID. It's
Right.
COVID, I think. Oh, that's probably why I couldn't. But I will try him again.
Okay, so
But
that's...
It's, I mean, I think some of it is partly to do with the owners, because it looks as if they string the bank quite low. But it's there's just no verge there at all. Yeah, if you walk that way, you'll look.
No grass,
No grass, nothing.
In the grass.
How would you walk that way? I haven't noticed that. That's just... I was probably looking at the granddaughter or the dog or the cows or the sheep rather than the dyke.
Yeah, but it's on the right hand side, obviously. But it is just, you just go down. There's nothing there to stop you from going in. Yeah.
Keith,
I think what the trouble is when they spray it, they keep spraying, or kills the root system, and then when you get the rain, that just keeps washing
It all down.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's just the fact that they didn't think there was an issue and they inspected it, so we need to draw to them in sort of very simple terms what we believe the issue is. Which
District officer should know that, I would have thought, wouldn't they?
they just sent us an email saying they checked and they weren't concerned.
Last time I had a problem with the road bank like that, we gave the owner a bag of grass. Now we use a special one, so deep roots.
That's to stabilise it. Yeah. Right. The next item was the hedge trimming at Diamond Jubilee Cottage between Lakes End and Tips End. Do we have any update on that at all, Clark?
No, only that it will be done eventually when they're next in the area.
Okay, thank you. I don't suppose anybody's been down that way recently to see if anything...
No, I haven't spoken to Jill Bliss, who complained there.
The next item is the 1101 junction with Tips End. This was to do with...
The mirror.
No, it wasn't. That was further down, I think, isn't it? I keep getting caught out thinking it's the mirror. It's next item, the mirror. Isn't it? Or perhaps not. Oh, there were several issues in following our Lakes End surgery, one of which was the mirror, which I know has been done, because Andrew installed it, and I actually came out of that junction from Tips End a couple of weeks ago and found the mirror very useful in allowing me to see what was going on around the corner, so that's very good, thank you. There was also other issues to do with the road surface, which I think this is what this one's about, more to do with, I think these two got blurred, you know, because there were other issues to do with the quality of the road surface down, I think Cock Fen Road, was it? I think that's the one they were concerned about, wasn't it? which, and then there was also to do with painting on the road or something. I don't, but we don't know anything more.
No.
No. Has anything come of those regular meetings with highways that the parish clerks were going to have that
No,
Chris
it's
Dawson
not
talked
happened
about?
yet. So what he's trying to do, he's trying to set up, I think, something similar to this action log that will be county-wide, that all of us will be able to go on at any time and have a look at. That's what they're trying to set up, some kind of spreadsheet. So not
Certainly.
only the clerks, but you guys can look
Yeah,
and see, it's
certainly.
programmed in for March or it's programmed in for October, and therefore there shouldn't be this baton and
That's right.
to
I think
and fro
everybody was getting
between
fed
us
up with everybody
highways.
getting bombarded with emails asking what's happening about point B, what's happening about point C. And the idea was to try and find a way of keeping everybody up to date, but without having to waste time doing all these emails. So once that's been set up, hopefully we'll be able to have an update of this every month when we, from that live
Yeah.
document. So we'll get rid of the mirror. That's done.
Yeah.
And we'll leave the other one for now until we've got some more information back from highways. The next item, still we've said about waiting for quotes on placing a new bus stop. But didn't the last meeting decide to have a payment, or am I wrong?
No, that's decided. We're going to have the trot between
Yes. Okay. So that's finished now. Then that item that can come off.
Yeah.
And how far have we got with that trod situation? Have we ordered anything?
I've got in touch with Andy. Andy's going to go back out there and check. He said it would be April, but I haven't heard anything more.
Has he
since
checked
then.
in April? As
Yeah.
opposed to a trod you appear
Yes, I don't think the trot's going to appear just yet.
Yeah, I thought that sounded ambitious. Okay, so take off the moving the bus stop then.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Well, that's the next one is the one I was talking about, the Cochrane Road thing, which is all getting muddled up. And then the Lakes End sewage is the last item, which I know you have been dealing with, trying to get something sorted out about draining that filled in.
We had a good meeting, but unfortunately the person who wanted to be there at the time didn't turn up. And that's
Wasn't
the
that
guy
before
from
you
Waldersey Farms. Adrian his name is. And it turns out, well, everything we agreed at the meeting had been changed, so it's now back in the hands of Roxanne Cross, who now has to go to basically any ground worker to put in 150mm pipe and do it that way, because basically Waldersey Farms says, you can redo the pipe for one paint of land. So increase that put us in a rather embarrassing situation.
So they want you to buy the land to put the tip right.
To reinstall the ditch. Yeah, because it turns out it's beyond the old boundary where
So that's gone back to,
so it's
to
gone
be
back to
discussed.
square one basically.
Andrew, you had a point to make?
Yeah. Do we need this on the action log anymore? Because we already took things off the action log earlier this evening, which were in the hands of the authorities.
Yeah.
This is clearly in the hands of the authorities and
Yeah.
out of the hands of the parish council. I don't know if we need it on the action log anymore.
Could I request, Colin, if we take it off the action log, if something changes, you appraise us of that?
Yeah, certainly. no
Okay,
problem.
that's
We
reasonable.
did
then.
want to take this off earlier, as I recall.
Richard,
You said that was the last date on the action log.
it is on mine.
I've
Your
got
your
another
list
one.
seems to be slightly different to ours.
Those side.
It's not just mine.
Yeah.
Okay, hang on.
The only additional item on there is low side trod, uneven surface.
I beg you, but I don't know why. Obviously, I've opened the wrong file. I haven't. So I had stuff you didn't have there. I was going.
Which is all interesting, so.
Probably explains why stuff on there seemed out of date. I apologise for opening the wrong file, team.
So yeah, it's just.
Low side trod, I've emailed Andy, he said he'd go and have a look at it. Whether he'll look at it at the same time he goes to look at the middle centre, I don't know. But I haven't heard anything back from him. But I do know he has had about a week to 10 days leave in the last few weeks. So I guess that will...
That was the only action I had. So obviously loaded the wrong one into the folder. I always put the meeting papers into one folder, so I haven't got to look everywhere for them. But I obviously put them wrong again. So I did it in a bit of a rush this afternoon, so I had a hell of a lot on today. So that's probably why. I apologise for dealing with the wrong action log. Councillor, is there anything on the action log that we should be dealing with that I haven't brought up that Chris which thank you very much, I do apologise. Right, on to item 7 then, which is reports from individual councillors, council groups and the clerk. And the first item, as usual on there, is planning applications. Obviously we've got an outline of all the ones there that have been in front of our group over the last month. Is there anything you want to draw our attention to, Andrew?
No, I don't think so, not on this one. No.
Okay. So are we all happy to sort of approve the decisions taken by our planning subgroup? No shakings of heads? No? Okay, so that's agreed. Thank you very much. Okay, the next item on the agenda is to do with the Platinum Jubilee celebrations and what to purchase, if anything, for the children at the school in the parish as a mark of a memento of the event. We discussed this at the last Finance Committee meeting and made some decisions, and some quotes were obtained since then. So, does anybody want to comment on those quotes and propose what we do? Andrew?
I haven't got the figures in front of me, but I thought the pen and pencil sets looked good value for money. I'm going to say it would be a change from the mugs, or this is what I do.
Cost-wise, there wasn't a huge amount in most of the things. The one was a bit more expensive than anything else, but most of it was in the same ballpark, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And the nice thing about the pen and pencil was there was a little case, wasn't there, with a pen and a propeller pencil, and that you could put the wording on there as to what you wanted. Do you have the cost to hand? I think, I imagine you do.
I just need to find it quickly.
This is one of those things I meant to do your paper on, and so it was all brought together, but I've been so busy the last few weeks I didn't get an opportunity to do the paper, so I do apologise.
How much were they roughly?
It was
About 220 or something like that.
Just £2
well, we can tell them the mic figure which you ended up and then we'll keep looking.
Richard is desperate to say something.
Oh, you sorry.
He obviously knows
The only
something.
thing I was going to say is it's Upwell Primary School, so there'll be some younger children there who probably don't even know what pen and pencil is.
Exactly.
So whether we actually look to do a combination of a water bottle and a pen and pencil, so the younger children can have perhaps a water bottle and
I remember with the water bottle there was a general feeling that they'd all look the same and they'd all get mixed up and lost. And so we went away
You've got
from
30 children but with all the same water bottles.
so it was down to
Parents don't
plugs
know them.
or some sort of writing equipment. There were several different pens or pencils or pencil sets suggested, but I think it was down to either mug or one of those, wasn't it really? I think the water bottles got shelled because of the danger of them all bringing the same one in and there being then mayhem as a result of all having the same water bottle.
So Jubilee mugs that Andrew found for us, 140 for buying 144 to 499. We need 196. At £3.08 plus VAT.
We get the VAT back.
But we get it back.
Yeah. This was the fancy engraved pen, was it? Or was this the set? Because there was a set and there was a single pen. I think the single pen was more
This might be
expensive.
the engraved pen. No. Right, so the pen boxed set. So again, if we buy between 100 and 249 at £2.04 plus VAT.
Okay. So that's for the set.
Yeah.
Okay. I take the point that you think a pen and pen set might be too fancy for the very young children. We haven't got a breakdown of the ages, so I can't say exactly whether we want to go all for mugs and or we want to try and give the older ones a pen and pencil set, or we ignore the fact that you haven't given them all a pen and pencil set.
Would the mugs have anything on them, printed on them, other than the Jubilee? Would that have Upwell Jubilee on or whatever?
If you can put on the mugs who's presenting it to the Upwell Parish Council, I guess. Yes.
They can be individually personalised with children's artwork. So I guess we could put our
Our
logo
artwork.
on the back.
There was a suggestion that obviously you can't order 196, excuse me, and there's the possibility of selling or trying to see if you can sell the surplus ones, would that still be the case?
Why can't we order that?
I don't know about on this particular one. I know when Ros and I
Yeah.
looked, they were in boxes of 36,
36,
weren't
yeah.
they?
So we'd have to have 216.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
I know when I spoke to Ros, we sort of said, didn't we, we could probably sell the rest at the
Yeah.
actual event. So we didn't have any surplus.
well, let's have a proposal from somebody as to, and then if somebody's not happy with the proposal, we can amend it. Andrew,
I propose we go with pen and pen sets for school.
who wants to second
I'll
that?
second that.
You'll second that? Okay, you want to amend that? You could, yeah, you can amend it to say we want to split them up so half and half or something.
Well, I think, as Richard said, you can't expect a toddler, 4-year-old,
Yeah,
to hold
so
a
do you want to propose an amendment to
yeah,
that?
that we do this younger generation have a mug.
Okay, and so do you want to put an age into that so we know where we are?
7, yeah.
Okay, so 7 and under
They have a
mug
yeah.
and over 7s pen and pencil.
Yeah.
Okay, does anybody want to second that proposal? That amendment, I think.
I'll second that one
Can you allow a second proposal?
then. Yeah, I'll second that.
Okay, just checking, I wasn't sure what the rules were. Okay, so first of all then, the amendment, all those in favour of the amendment to Andrew's that we buy a mixture of pen and pencil sets and mud with the younger, the 7 unders having mugs, could you all show who wants to go for that option, please?
I think I'll go for that, because then if we've got the opportunity of selling surplus,
Okay.
we've got a mixture of both, haven't we?
We don't actually know if he's coming, but yeah, okay. So that was carried. Then there was a clear majority for the amendment. So the amendment is carried. Then what you need to do is you can find out from the school the numbers.
of each.
Yeah. Basically, we do it by year groups. So I don't know what 7-year-olds are in, which year group it is, but they'll know. If they could tell us how many of the year groups from that down and that up, then we can work out what the order needs to be.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And for those of you who haven't seen the minutes of the finance meeting agreed that the last parish council meeting had already agreed to pay for the white lining on the playing field for the sports activities. So that went through and has already been paid for to CGM for that to be done as well. Just so it was useful to do it before the end of the financial year.
Can I just come in here, Paul? The playing field will be donating medals and coins for
The contestants.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, good. Is that everything? Have you had with that? Yeah. Move on to the next item then. New notice board at Lakes End. Andrew.
Yeah, I did a bit of research after the last meeting and forward Melanie came back to me with, I think you had a notification from somewhere,
Yeah.
which I followed up. For a decent price notice board. I mean, there's some of them are horrendous prices, but the one that I looked at in Johnson and Melanie didn't seem too bad a price if Parish Council want to go for it.
What was it? Yeah, it's roughly £1,000, isn't it?
Just shy of
And is
Yeah.
that basically a similar design to the ones we've got in Upwell by the surgery?
This is a green notice board and it has 10 A4 pages, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it, you can have a header board across the top of it, that comes with the posts and everything. So
Okay. So
But yeah.
we probably probably need to know how much it's going to cost when we vote on it. I know I'm being pedantic, but blank checks and all that.
It is. I have a feeling it's more 960, 970, isn't it? It's more top end of the £1,000 than it is the bottom end.
And do we have an estimated life for these, do you know?
I think it's guaranteed something like 5 or 10 years, I think.
So, we know the state of the current notice board it needs replacing, and this sounds like a, oh, here we go, you found one.
So it goes on size, it goes on colour. I can't remember which size we agreed on, Andrew, can you? Off the top of your head?
No, sizing seems a bit confusing.
It is very
It
confusing.
says A4,
With
isn't it?
posts, landscape, security locks. What's that? Unavailable.
I think the price I came up with was about 500 or something, and you investigated further, it came up.
We've got to have the posts and the locks, haven't we, and stuff on it.
Yeah.
See, that one's
That's
big.
one that's brilliant, so put the one down, I think that would be the name of this one.
How many sheets are they for? 950.
Okay, this must be the one we're in for.
Yeah.
Okay, so the one, now we found the quote. This particular size is 906 centimetres by 900. No, by 906 to 900. I think that must be the difference of the frame, yeah?
Yeah.
So 906 by 600 centimetres. Millimetres. It is no unit, so I'm just winging it.
Nine.
That doesn't sound. Well, it's just under a metre, isn't it?
Yes.
Just
Yeah.
under a metre.
3 foot be 2 foot approx.
It's the same size as the one on the wall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A metre's reasonable, isn't it? Yeah.
So they go an inch.
Yeah. So that's a reasonable size. You wanted it in black, did you, or green? Did you say?
You can have whatever colour you like, pretty
Yeah, you
much.
can.
Brown, dark blue, dark
Maroon.
green, green, light blue, maroon, red, silver, white, yellow.
Green was blended in, green or black, green was blended
Yes,
in.
green.
Okay. For green, the price change when you put green.
No.
No, it's the same price. So the same. That's green with posts, the landscape orientation with security locks. Come to £950 and 85 pence. Okay?
Accepted or amended?
Stainless steel. Oh no, hang on. That was the locks.
It is
Fully welded, heavy duty,
powder coated frame.
Yeah, steel or
aluminium frame, high grade aluminium frame, powder coated. There you go.
I think it's the same as what we've got at Welle Road.
Good. So we're all happy with that then, yes? We spent £950 on that. Okay. What budget is that coming from? Is it we budgeted for that?
I think we have budgeted for that, yes.
Okay, good, that's right. Right, so that's,
So happy for me to order it, yeah? Yeah?
okay, thank you.
Who's going to erect it? Because we had to do the red ones.
Yes, it'll need erecting.
Either Andrew or we could ask.
Andrew's just nodded his assent.
Yeah?
Sorry, you might have to work in with him, the two people to do it. Depending what the ground is like, whether we need to sort of can go in, break the top surface, but he's bringing slightly forward to the old one. So, okay, when we've got it, I'll ask Tim if he'll pass the system.
Okay.
Together.
Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew.
Good. Thank you very much. Next item is the bungalows in Green Road. I'm not sure who put this on the agenda or what it's about. So,
I can't
Did you
remember.
thank you.
I can say
Richard, that's you later then. Fire away, sir.
So this the series of prefab bungalows
Yeah.
along Green Road, owned by Freebridge Housing, that were boarded up many years ago, and probably about 6 or 7 years ago, we had Freebridge in here to explain to us what they were doing with those bungalows, and The story was that they were waiting for some of the residents to move out of the ones that were rented. I know they've also tried to purchase some of the ones that are owned. But we're here now 6 or 7 years further down the line and nothing has still happened.
Have any of the buildings that were occupied been empty, or are they still all occupied?
So all the ones that are now occupied, I believe, are owned.
Right.
And Freebridge, so when Freebridge tried to purchase the last one, they didn't try particularly hard because they offered a particularly low price to the one, and actually they managed to sell it privately. I think they sold it to somebody else. So I don't think there is ever going to be the opportunity for them to buy the properties that have got residents in.
What were they planning on doing if they did succeed in buying them all?
So what they said at our meeting 5 or 6 years ago was that they were going to look to sell off the plots for chalet bungalows or something like that.
Okay, so it's knocking down and sell the building blocks.
Exactly right.
Councillor Spikins wants to
I can
contribute.
assure you, like you, we have been after Freebridge with the chief exec. Obviously Tony Hall used to be there. He came from the Borough Council, so we had direct access to Tony. We explained the terrible situation residents have got down there that own it. They've offered them paltry sums. They've had a lot of disamenity next door and rats and boarded up. It looks terrible. We've been fobbed off every time. We have a new person in, but and I think we've had them 3 times. We've asked this question: what is happening to these houses? Because it's terrible down there. I took my mother down there on one of her walks. She's like you and my mum. Come and look at this, Mum. It's sort of off the scene as such because of where it is, but it's not for the residents.
So Freebridge basically just are doing nothing.
Well, it seems to be. I can't speak for them, but we have repeatedly lobbied and asked, even in the town hall, what are you doing with them? Because there are all these empty properties around. These are quite a few. The same with Welney. You get told things, nothing happens. They board them up, whilst they do very costly upgrades. Take your pick, what do you want, a home or, it's lovely for the people to have upgrades, but at the end of the day, they've left them with houses boarded up. So nobody wants to live there, I'm told. I know they're asbestos, which is an issue, but all the people that have bought them have upgraded them and they've made them very nice. So I don't know what the answer is. I cannot make them, and that is the problem.
Did you have a suggestion, Richard, that what you wanted us to do?
Only that perhaps as a parish council we could wait to Freebridge homes and remind them about. I think they've been here twice, haven't they?
Would it be worth us writing to this trust and asking her to get involved as a parish council?
I don't see why not.
With the borough council been trying a lot, you might. They probably aren't going to pay attention to us. If they're not listening to the borough, why would they listen to the parish? They may listen to this trust.
When the parish council, I said, look, the ones down the bottom of Chestnut Avenue in Welney, they started refurbishing them, and then they stopped. I said, why are they just boarded up? And they answered, because nobody wants to live in Welney.
Yeah.
So then we said about Green Grove, why don't you modernise and do these bungalows up? Because nobody wants to live in Upwell.
That's entirely true. I was just doing
Well, that's why you're getting out of it. But I mean, why they can't develop, there's nothing stopping them from developing the plots on the empty bungalows and leave the ones that are privately owned, because they can be privately owned forever if they were offering a paltry sum.
Well,
I was going to say, there's some bungalows down near Rob, they're Freebridge, and some of those have got boarded up windows, and I know Rob's been after them for quite some time to put the glass back in because they got smacked. And they've moved people out of King's Lynn into them.
Yeah.
there's people living in there then.
There's people living in them, yeah. But one of the guys that moved in decided to put everybody else's windows through, which has been like that for 4 months. But
It's not good enough, is it?
it's now done.
People shouldn't be left in that situation. Okay, I propose then that this council writes to this trust to ask her to get involved. We copy the Freebridge and Vivian into that letter.
Copy in the chief exec at Lynn at the Borough Council.
But okay, yeah, copy them in as well. Then. Chief exec, Vivian, well, Colin will see it anyway.
Yeah. And also the chief exec.
And
see if she can give
Freebridge.
any leverage to us.
And just see, we'll asking her, can she get involved? Because it's not fair to the people in Upwell that these are being left in that condition.
Those near you were sorted out, weren't they?
But it's now done.
That's what I
They-
thought.
they
Yes,
said
we focus on the green road.
Yes, sir.
Can I propose all this is added to the action log, so we
Yep, absolutely. Yep, thank you. Good. Council surgery dates with volunteers for them. Do we have a report on this from yourself?
Not a report, but yes. So, the Monday the 25th of April, I've got Paul and Rob. This is 3 holes, by the way. Monday the 24th of October, which is the evening one, I've got Andrew, but nobody to go with him. So I need somebody on that one.
What day?
24th of October, 7 p.m. at 3 holes.
I can do that if you want.
The Upwell ones I've got volunteers for. I've got Vivian on Saturday the 30th with Pru.
We probably need
And
the second parish council at that as well, because obviously Vivian's other council.
yeah, true, yeah,
What time is it?
10.
10.
So you've got another
If
parish
we can
council.
get another parish council, I think we should probably need 2 parish councils at each one, because they are technically our hours. I think it's great that we've also got the other council coming.
If you
I
want
think-
me to,
but I
but...
do- you know, I'm very happy for you to
Yes,
come here. I just
please,
don't think we should.
No,
Oh,
it
we
should
already
be
have.
the parish
Yeah.
council who's called it to
So we
do
need
it.
a second one for the 30th.
I know Colin said you can do,
Most of them,
Most of them.
except that one. I
Can't
said
do that one?
Because
yeah.
the conflicts with another meeting. I think that's the evening one.
I'll change round if I have to.
Well, I've got you for the 25th with Ros.
That's 3 of them, isn't it?
No, that's this.
So that's all right.
Yeah, so I need
That's
somebody
that
for
one.
the 30th on a Saturday, other than Pru.
I'm down for the 25th, but I'm quite difficult for the next month because I've got lots on in April and in May. So I may actually ask me to swap, but so I don't want to volunteer for another one as well. And I do think everybody should do at least one.
Well, I'll do it. You mind?
Yeah.
Are you already
It's
down
on
for one, Jill?
Saturday.
What day is that?
The Saturday is the 30th of April.
If you were doing that one, Jill, somebody else should do the October one. I don't think it's right for the same person to do 2 in succession in the same village. At the moment, you were down to do 2 in Upwell now.
Yeah, I don't mind, but if you don't think I should.
No, I just don't think we should have everybody doing them rather than one person doing 2, really.
If Jill's happy to do the 30th, I'll do the 25th of October at 7 p.m.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You'll do it with Pru.
Thank you, Richard.
Yeah, and I'll stay with Ross.
No,
No, the other way round.
What-
Yeah, I don't mind which one I
So
do.
it's now, so it's just the Lakes End ones now that I've got. So the 25th of April in the evening, I've got Christine, but nobody to go with her. And I've got no one for the 24th of October in the morning at Lakes End.
Well, October is a long way off,
And I've got the other ones filled for October. But I've still only got one in for the April.
We need some. We can leave October empty for now, and you can go away and allocate to April, to October.
Yeah.
But we probably still need a volunteer for the 25th of April if we can, because that's quite
Yes.
soon. That's only a couple of weeks away, isn't it?
I'll do it.
You know where you're doing one, which I don't really want people to do 2. It's not
What did we go?
It's not till October.
true. But you're doing one in October. No, April 20. Oh, I see. What you're doing is October. I beg your pardon. Yes. I'm with you.
So Keith will. You say you will.
Okay, put Keith down to go with Christine on the 25th. Can you 7 o'clock on Monday the 25th of April, Keith?
Yeah, it should be alright.
Okay.
At Lakes End?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, go through who's not doing one and tell them they're doing the 24th of October the next then.
Yep, we'll do.
Right, okay. Move on. Right, Village Hall. Right. For those of you who read through the reports from the AGM for the Village Hall, you will see that there's no longer a lay treasurer for the village hall. Now, Melanie took it over because you had basically been told that because it was parish council building, you should really have sight of the accounts.
Yeah.
And we felt the best way to do that would be for Melanie to actually be we'll call her treasurer, but it's basically still a financial responsible officer, part of her duties really, isn't it?
Only deep enough.
Oh dear. So, because of that, and because of a couple of other things that we really studied, we had to redo the terms of reference for the Village Hall Committee. If you remember, we approved terms of reference, I think it was 2020 or October 2020 or something like that. We approved the last term. So there's a new terms of reference, which is basically the same document with a couple of extra sections in it, which essentially are designed to bring it into line with the standing orders and legal requirements of a parish council organisation. Really. Now there's a couple of things in there which the Upwell committee wanted, but I think may need to change because you've actually done some further research since that meeting and have had some guidance, I think, haven't you, from your colleagues as to what is and isn't allowed. So if we just have a quick look at that terms of reference that you had circulated with the, actually you circulated again on Friday, I think, didn't you?
Yes.
Thursday, was it?
Yeah, I think Thursday.
Okay. So the only sections you need to consider really are the sections in red. Is that correct?
Yeah, I don't think they were read when I sent them out.
No, I won't read when I go round.
Okay.
Looking at yours.
Yeah, mine, this is the same. I saved it. I might because of you doing funny things next. I saved this from your email. But mine is in red, so clearly. I'll tell you which sections. I'll go through it. Yes.
Before we get to those, could I raise a couple of points from you in general?
About.
Terms of reference.
Right.
First of all, under 3 powers, clause B says open bank accounts. Well, since Melanie has taken over the handling of the bank account, then surely that should come out because then we don't need to open bank accounts.
It's a fair point. Go on.
Going further on, there seems to be...
That was in the old, which was unchanged.
Yes, well, I appreciate that, but
Yeah.
it's no longer relevant.
Yeah, no, I take your point. Yeah.
And then further on, it refers to a management committee. Under 5, the officers of the management committee shall be the chairperson, the treasurer, and the
Yes.
secretary. Now, is there a separate management committee, or is the management committee the committee?
It's the committee.
So, in other words, the term management committee.
We could remove the word management.
The word management needs to be removed.
Yeah, that's perfectly reasonable.
Right, I'm sorry to interrupt you.
It's all right. The management appears quite often throughout the document, so.
Yes, but there is no separate internal management.
No, it's the same committee we're talking about. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so take management out throughout. Yeah, thank you. Anything else?
No, I just happened to pick up.
No, it's fine. Absolutely. When you read a document in flesh, you pick stuff up that people who've read it umpteen times often don't see, which is yeah.
I have one for you.
Yes, Bill.
7D.
That's the one in red. We're going to talk about that in a second.
Okay.
And also 7D is the other one we're going to talk about in a second.
Yes, well, certainly.
That's the only other one I've got in red. So apart from those 2 sections, which we'll talk about now, is everybody else, the rest, people happy with the rest of them? Okay, let's just go to those, because you're right. So section 7D, this is the one this is a new clause that was put in by Melanie, in fact, wasn't it? All members and officers are responsible for obtaining value for money at all times. An officer issuing an official order shall ensure, as far as is reasonable and practical, that the best available terms are obtained in respect of each transaction, usually by obtaining best available quality and value. See financial regulations item 10.3. So what was your comment on that one, Bill?
No, I was 10D, that's what I was coming to.
Sorry, we haven't got, all right, so beg your pardon, I thought it was B, it was D, really, sorry.
So my only comment on that would be surely the officers of the committee should be making a recommendation to to the parish council
Well,
to instruct orders. If it is a committee of the parish council, in the same way as we've got other committees of the parish council, for example.
well, section D gives the committee the authority to spend up to a certain amount.
Yes, well, that was another thing I was going to come on to. That,
Yeah.
that seems excessive compared to other committees.
Yeah, well, that's what Melanie is since.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just so forget the figure for the minute. The principle is up to whatever figure we choose. We are saying to the committee is entitled to order that up to that figure, but it is you have to ensure that they get best value for money for that with that bit or order whatever. Is that clear?
So if they order something more than 15,000,
Well, we haven't got to that bit yet, Bill, but it's going to be 5,000, I believe is the figure it's going to be. But whatever the figure is, you see, up to now, that committee has spent as much money as it liked, as long as it had the money in its bank account. And the last project it did, for example, was the refurbishment of the ladies' toilets next door here, which cost approximately £12,000. So they're used to spending the sorts of figures that were quoted originally in 7D. Now, what we've now been informed is that because obviously the financial regulations apply now, which we weren't applying them previously, the most they're allowed to spend without the council approving specifically would be £5,000, I think you told me, wasn't it? So what we're suggesting now is, in fact, in section 7D, we alter that to 5,000, not 15 or 10.
I think that they should be less than that. Simply because it should fall. So if it is a committee for the parish council, well, there's no other committees in the parish council that can spend £1,000.
There's no other committee that actually runs a building which has things to do in it.
Cemetery committee.
It has got a figure they can spend up to, not 5,000.
It's £500, I think it is.
Yeah, but the jobs in here, nothing costs £500. If you make it as low as that, you are asking that committee to refer everything it does to the parish council, in which case you might as well get rid of the committee and let the parish council run it.
It's not. We're not asking them to refer.
Yes, you are. You just said
No, not every. We're talking about
£500.
There needs to, I said £500. I said lower. I didn't actually say it. I said the cemetery committee's got a limit of £500, and rightly so, because
in the financial regulations, the council's allowed to spend up to £5,000, as you said, without going through council, provided it's been authorised.
This we can spend £5,000 if that was agreed. Yes, but what Richard's saying is right on the cemetery is right.
Yeah.
But we're changing how everybody should be viewing the parish, the village hall.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden this isn't. So historically, it's always been the village hall is a separate committee. It's village hall money.
Yeah.
Village hall will spend it.
It's still village hall money because they did say in here that it's
I agree
ring-fenced.
with that as well. The money should be protected for the purpose of the village hall. But how can we as parish councillors who have been elected to look after parish money, if this is parish money, we can't divest our powers to a committee of people to make decisions on sums of money like that, can we?
I think you can, and I think you don't. The committee will resign, to be honest. Because what's the point of them being there if they can't decide to repair a toilet or repaint something? That's the whole point of their existence. If you say to them, we want to do that, we now have to go to the parish council and say, can we repaint that room?
We already have procedures in place for doing that as a parish council, don't we? So let's say at the cemetery, if something happened, a tree fell over and we need to get that sorted out, then we have the ability to contact the finance committee and get that authorised and get that work carried out, don't we?
You do, but it takes time.
Yeah, but everything takes time.
Well, not if you've got a committee that's empowered to spend up to £5,000. I'm going to resign if you do that, to be honest. I'll resign for the council and I'll resign from the village hall committee if you don't let them spend £5,000.
I don't think it's right.
Well, I'll resign them. If the council votes for that, I'm walking out today.
Yeah.
There you go. Because I think that is undermining a voluntary committee that's been working incredibly hard for the benefit of the village for many years. And if you say to them, you can't spend more than £500 or whatever figure you put on it, you're saying to them, you don't value them, you don't trust them, you're making them come and do all this work and walk out. They've got a bank account of £30,000 roughly at the moment, which is ring fenced, and we're saying they can't spend more than 5,000. That's already putting unreasonable restrictions on them, in my view, but I understand why you're doing that. If you actually vote for something lower than that, I think I'm walking out the door now.
But with respect, Paul, you are looking to move on in the very
I am.
future. So we're trying to set something up
Yes.
that is going to secure.
I appreciate that, but
Yes.
I am also trying to safeguard the future of the hall for that committee's benefit. And if you do this, I don't think that committee will stay. I think they'll all leave, and I'm going to set an example of being the first one to go. And I will walk out in the next 5 minutes if you vote for this. I propose it's 5,000. Does anybody want to second that? Right. Anybody want an amendment to the 5,000?
I suggest it is, there is a time limit on it, because you could spend 5,000 one week, 5,000 next week, 5,000 the week after, and empty the hall's bank account.
Do you think Melanie, as a financial responsible officer of the Village Hall Committee, is going to allow them to do that?
Yeah, but Paul, you're looking at it as in at the moment. So at the moment, yes, we've got a committee who we have got total trust in, but we have actually not got a great deal of control over who will get elected to that committee in the next 12
It's
months,
not an
18
election,
months,
is
2
it?
years.
It's voluntary.
Or who will volunteer to come onto that committee.
Okay.
So that there needs to be some long-term. We can't. These terms of reference here. We can't necessarily change them. In
Okay,
2
so
years' time.
Pru, can you tell us what time do you really want to put on that?
No, I can't. because
Well, you're making an
no.
amendment to a proposal, you have to.
Right, well, I should say annually in that case.
5,000 annually.
Yes.
And you want to second that? Amendment.
What's that?
The 5,000 without referring to the council, my council.
I think an amendment to that, which says it's for an emergency, for emergency purposes, for things that need to be done to keep the hall open.
Can you word that amendment for me?
There's a challenge.
Well, it's got to be, because it's going to be minuted, so we need to know exactly what you're saying. At the moment, the proposal was we amend the figure in the terms of reference before us to 5,000. That was proposed by me and seconded by Roz. Pru then just said there should be a time limit. They can only spend £5,000 per year. Is that what you're saying?
Well, that was
In one go, or?
in one go.
Right, so the fact the turnover of the committee is £30,000 a year,
So
£20,000 a year, I beg your pardon. So that means they can't actually run the hall, because once they've spent £20,000, once it's £5,000, the rest of the 15 they won't be able to spend.
No, we're not talking about regular expenditure.
Oh, right, we're not talking about regular
We're not
expenditure,
talking
right?
about paying the bills.
Right,
you see.
so that needs to be an amendment as well then.
We are talking about expenditure on projects of one kind or another.
Okay. So
Such
your
as
amendment you're
maybe
saying is
damages.
they can only do, without permission of the parish council, because obviously they can come to the parish council and ask for permission, they can spend up to £5,000 on one project per year. Is that what you're saying? I just want to get it in
Yes.
clearly in there. So who wants to second that amendment to the original proposal, please?
I think up to £5,000 on one or more projects per year. So they're not £5,000 per project.
As required by circumstance.
Yeah. So yeah, so
I'm not clear what you amend.
well, what it's coming across as, it's £5,000 just for one project per year, right?
Yes,
Without referring to the main council.
I think that's what Pru said, yes.
Yeah, is that right?
I'm going to confuse myself, yes, that's the gist of how I'm
But what I was saying, it doesn't have to just be limited to one project. That £5,000 could be over 2 projects, for example, or 3.
Yeah, I think we just need an opportunity to give this some more thought, frankly.
Well, you've had it for ages. If you've not read it, it's not my fault.
Well, I have read it and I've been thinking about it. I had another idea, which was that
Are you going to make another amendment then?
No, I'm not going to make another amendment.
There's been a proposal on the table which I've asked for amendments for.
Right.
I'm happy if we get a seconder for that amendment to go for voting. We haven't had a seconder yet. Bill's wanted clarifying exactly what the amendment meant, and I'm still not sure we've clarified that yet.
What does Melanie have in amendment there?
What have I got? I've put Pru asked for a limit of £5,000 annually in one go, but not on regular expenditure.
Is there a specific project?
So you're saying one
A
project,
specific project.
so if they spend 5,000 on one project, what you're saying is they can't spend 5,000 on another project in the same year without coming back to the council. That's what you're saying, isn't it? Yeah, that's right.
So
Is that what you meant as well, Bill, or
Yeah, I
not?
think so, yeah.
So if the bar needed refurbishing
Yes,
and it came to £5,000,
yes,
you can spend £5,000 on bar refurbishment.
yes.
Then within 12 months of that, if something went in the kitchen, that had an electrical surge and all the appliances went bang, and the appliances came to £5,000, you wouldn't be able to buy any new
You have to come to
appliances.
the council to get permission to spend the money on
Wait
the
a month.
repairs.
Unless we did it by email, is that right?
You couldn't, they would have to come to a council meeting, wouldn't
You'd have to come to a council meeting.
So what happens then if
We
we've got a fence on?
We could differentiate between repairs and refurbishments.
You can call an extraordinary meeting if it happened to be that dire.
What happens with the cemetery, the £500?
With the
Works pretty fine.
Yeah, but
not,
I mean, if there
could you
was
put in not including essential maintenance? If we added the words not including essential maintenance to your amendment, would that cover Andrew's point about, I mean, just refurbish something and then having to replace all the equipment because some catastrophe happened?
I think it should be essential maintenance. The £5,000 should be on essential maintenance. So if there's a project to do, I don't see why they can't bring it to the parish council for the parish council to approve the expenditure.
Because they think if they did, you would pick every single penny and they wouldn't get it done. Is probably the answer. If you want the truth, you would penny pinch every single item and it would
We
be.
had that with the oil tank when I was the chairman.
Yeah.
I brought that to the parish council, I imagine at least on 3 occasions, asking the parish council that you own the building, the oil tank is cracked, we need a new oil tank and installation. And every time the question was asked, well, how much money has the parish village hall committee got? The parish council would just not say, yes, get the oil tank done.
Yeah, but I came in there, fixtures and fittings,
Exactly.
down to the Upwell Parish Council.
It was a long, hard battle.
Yeah, I think it just illustrates the point.
Yeah.
So, at the moment, the amendment says, Pru suggests that there's a time limit of only £5,000 annually in one go, but not counting regular expenditure and not including essential maintenance. But Richard, did you want to change that? That would be another amendment, obviously.
I personally think that the £5,000 should cover essential maintenance and general running costs.
Okay, that's a different amendment than I think. We've got two amendments, that's a completely different. You're saying, oh, no project, if you like, should be done without the approval of the parish council. That's essentially what you were saying.
That's right.
Yeah. So, amendment 2 is the £5,000 can be spent annual, again, when the same as Pru, but changing the wording, is that right? It's £5,000 once per year or not?
I wasn't going to leave the £5,000 in there personally. I was going to say, we need to know what the running cost of the hall and cover the running cost of the hall. Without any need to come back to the parish council. But anything that's any expenditure on projects should come back to the parish council.
Okay, so you was actually saying then, it's fairly similar to that, isn't it? That the £5,000 can only be spent on maintenance and not on projects.
I see things a little bit differently in that if the parish council, if the village hall has a bank account and has sufficient funds within that bank account to cover a project that they're looking to do, I don't see how the parish council can argue.
Because that's parish council money technically, because they own the building and they...
No, it's technically parish council money, but I don't see how they can argue that the village hall couldn't proceed with that, but it ought to come back to the parish council. It ought to be approved by the parish council for a project, for a £12,000 or a £5,000 project.
It never has been before, but I accept what you're saying. So,
So £5,000 only on maintenance and not on projects. That's your.
Yes,
Is that right?
essentially, yes.
is that, just for absolute clarity, is that £5,000 in 1 year, or is that £5,000 per episode of maintenance?
I would say that's per episode. So let's say if all of a sudden your heating failed, for example, and you needed to spend five, then you should.
Per episode of maintenance.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm just absolutely clarifying. I wanted these proposals to be absolutely clear. So at the moment, has anybody seconded Pru's amendment? Did you second it?
Yeah, I think I'm going down with Richard.
Okay, so nobody is second Pru's amendment, is that correct? Okay, so that amendment isn't going to go forward because it hasn't been seconded. Bill has just said he has seconded Richard's amendment. So, just for everybody to understand exactly what they're voting on now, here, for the section on the terms of reference, which are 7D, so currently it says the committee shall not spend nor commit to spend more money than is in the whole bank account. Expenditure on a project in the whole costing more than 15,000. Oh, sorry, that's what I'm reading. What she said. Costing. So I'm going to reword that. Expenditure on a project in the whole costing more than £5,000. No, actually, expenditure on all projects would require parish council consent, but that expenditure up to £5,000 per episode of maintenance can be spent without reference to the parish council. Is that fair? Are you clear on that as well? Okay, so that's the amendment. So all those in favour of that amendment, please vote. Okay, that's carried. So that means the amendment carries rather than the original proposal.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure who the vice chair is because she's not here. But you have to get on with it now because I was like, right. It wasn't an empty threat, right? Good night.
Oh, that's not. He's resigned from the parish council. Both.
Could I ask for somebody to stand to be the chair for the rest of the meeting, please?
Pru, I'll propose Pru stands.
I'll second that.
Are you happy to do that, Pru?
I will.
I can't write against his cars, whereas maybe you can get out.
May I do a point, Richard?
Right, can we continue with the agenda, please? The next item is to discuss the recent meeting in the cemetery and the request for a memorial bench.
I know
circulated.
I've put your name against it, but it's actually me that put the report together, which you've all seen. Can I just do the bench first, just because that's not actually on this report? So I was asked by Wendy Pope if she could put a bench along the front of the cemetery to for her husband. So as you look at the front of the cemetery, there is a bench that is 7 posts in from that side. She would like to put one in 7 posts in from that side. She wants to make it symmetrical so it looks exactly the same as the other one. The only difference is the back slat on the one that we've got, she would like to engrave with her husband's name on it. But it would look exactly the same other than that, but it will be symmetrical. I did say I would bring it to the committee and to the council and see if you could possibly agree with that. Apparently, her husband very much spent a lot of time on that bench with the dog,
He did.
or when he was on his bike, and he did loads of his conversations throughout the village
Yes.
on the bench. And I had her in tears round mine last week because she's desperate for this bench. Obviously, the whole cost and everything is down to her, nothing to do with us from that point of view.
He was born and bred in this
He
village.
was, yes.
He lived down on the common.
And
Home. Live in the common, really.
yeah, and I think it's a very nice gesture to do that.
Is everybody happy with that?
Thank you. And then Pru, Ros, Kelvin meeting down there last week. The first thing that happened, we walked into somebody that Pru and Ros knew and said how hard Kelvin had worked down there and how lovely it looked compared to other cemeteries, which was lovely. The top end, Kelvin had taken out quite a lot of weeds and some old shrubbery, so there's now quite a gap in there. So Pru sourced a new plant, which is called what, I can't remember. That's the one.
Yes.
Which is on its way. I've ordered that and it's on its way to me. Kelvin said he'll put that in for us. And then my biggest issue, which is why I called the meeting, is because I've only got three cremation plots left. That's it, out of the whole of the cemetery. So as you can see on here, we found where we can put some more plots if you're in agreement. So that was the first part of it. I don't know whether you understand where I mean where the plots are going. So the long thin plot that comes this way first, we can go onto the bank as such and mirror copy that, but it would be one row instead of two rows. The main part of the cremation plots, we've worked out we can get another row before we get to the burials. And then down the bottom end towards the gate, we said we could get probably about another 5 plots, did we, in that bottom bit? But Kelvin needs to put some more membrane down on there and then re-gravel that bit to utilise that. So altogether we'd end up with about 35, 36 plots if we did those 3 individual bits.
How long does that like to last?
Sorry?
How long will that last, that amount of plots?
Quite a while, I think. But having only 3 left is tight for me. So I need to do something somewhere to get some more cremation plots in.
The quickest will be the 5 at the end.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that those could be available immediately.
Yes. Yeah. So if that was in agreement for Kelvin just to put that bit of membrane down and then just re-gravel that little bit, and then we can go on the main bit, I can get another 11 in there, and then at some point in the future if we could do this side bit as well, that would be great. So there's that bit. What else did we do? Oh, we talked, didn't we, briefly, and we've talked about this before, where the main cremation plot is that isn't gravelled, because I know we talked about that, didn't we? Was it last year, I think, about doing that? Kelvin was saying that maybe if we decided we wanted to gravel that to tidy it up, he would do it in sections, so we might do 3 at a time, or we might do 6 at a time. It would obviously mean that I would have to contact the people that own those plots to lift the headstones off, to membrane it, then gravel it, and then put the headstones on. And in some places, especially where Rosie's family is, there is such a huge dip in there that it's difficult to trim it and keep it tidy.
Yeah, a lot of the new ones now have got a paving slab underneath and then the memorial stone on the top. And that makes it better for the flower vase to go in. They don't just blow out.
Yeah. So that was another thing that we looked at. The spoil heap, I have reported to the grave diggers and they are supposed to be tidying that up, but as of Tuesday's meeting last week, that still hadn't been done, had it?
It hasn't been done because I was down there yesterday.
I will chase him again and say, I think because we've had no burials down there, they haven't been down there, basically, is what I think has happened. He has said he'll do it. We were concerned about the hedge probably between the cemetery and the allotments, maybe could have a second row of hedging, but Andrew's been in contact and we've utilised what hedging we had left. So we haven't got any hedging at the moment.
That would survive.
Yeah, which is what I've got, but you've utilised the rest of it.
I did go down to meet somebody on Saturday morning and I looked at the hedging and it looked pitiful in those plastic tubes.
Yeah.
So I took all the plastic tubes off and it just went.
Yeah.
Some of the plastic tubes were full of soil from ants and other rubbish trying to grow up as well. So I think
it's probably better without the tubes.
I think we'll find that hedging will thrive better without those tubes on now that they've been taken off. So they are now all starting to grow.
Yeah, good. And then, so if you're looking down the cemetery, right at the bottom, one of the families has actually started to put bark along there, and we discussed with Kelvin from where that bark ends up until where the crossroads of the road is, and to the bench that's there, that maybe we could bark the rest of that up against
It's
the...
quite narrow.
Because it's quite narrow, quite untidy, and it would just help Kelvin out really as much as anything, because it wouldn't have to be weeded so much.
Talking to community service yesterday, apparently the rose bushes came from the allotments that was on that end plot. Have you ever heard that?
Did they?
Yeah, they planted them in there. So I can't think who had that. Oh, Alan Davis up here, didn't he? That really end.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Can we stick to the agenda, please? Is everybody happy with the proposals from Melanie's report?
Other than planting extra hedging, then.
Other than planting extra hedging, is everybody happy that we proceed with these?
Agree.
Thank you. If the next item, parish maintenance issues, I think Tim has quoted for these, has he not?
Yeah.
But oh, you've got a quote there, I've only got it on my phone. So, did everybody see Tim's quote? Lakes End bus shelter, £250, Crossroads bus shelter, £330. The Freehold Kids sign, £130, so a total of £710. Where are we budget-wise with this, Melanie? I wasn't expecting to be.
I know. Bless you. I think we can cover this, to be fair. Yeah. Yeah. It's all got to be done, to be fair.
Right, Andrew?
My only concern is we look at it, of course, it's a parish asset. My only concern, as it has been in the past, is the proper bus shelter. It's because it sits so far back off the edge of the road that if you sat in it out of the weather, the bus would just go straight past you, because you can't see a bus coming because it sits so far back, and the bus can't see if there's anybody
In it.
And I just wondered,
I presume it's wood, is it?
it's wooden one saying.
Is it not one that we could cut a window in then at the side?
You still wouldn't be able to see, because it sits so far back off the road.
It won't make
and
no
there's
difference.
trees and shrubs and everything opposite the houses
Yeah.
along that piece of road. If you stand there, you wouldn't, and I wouldn't expect the bus driver to slow up every time you came to that bus shelter, see if there's anybody in it. Most of the buses are hail stops anyway. You don't need to be at a bus stop the bus. I've seen people stand at the side of the road with their little trolleys, and the bus comes along, and they put their hand up, and the bus stops.
Stop anyway, yes.
So I just wonder the value of that bus shelter completely. I dare say nobody uses it. And I've said before about taking it away. I said, oh no, because we should never put another one there. Well, why would you want to put another one there if it's never used? And this one isn't used because it's got to be probably the width of this table, or this gap here, off the edge of the road, and it's got trees and hedges against it.
I suppose with that one, the only thing we could do is, because you found out how many used the Lakes End one, didn't you?
I got numbers,
I
passenger
don't know whether you
numbers.
could, yeah, I don't know whether you could do the same for Croft.
I think it was for both. I could. The other thing we could do is just put a notice in it, leave it for 3 months, saying Parish Council are considering demolishing this bus shelter because it serves no purpose. And if anybody has concerns, would then please contact the clerk.
Yeah, that would be.
That sounds like a plan.
Yeah.
Otherwise, Ross.
Was there not something mentioned about children catching the bus there?
That was going back to Lakes End. The
Right.
Lakes End bus shelter is used for the school run, but this will be a catch-all if people who have got children who use the Lakes End for the bus shelter, they would be entitled to contact us.
They wouldn't patch the school bus on that side of the road. If anything, if they're dropped off there, fine, but if they're dropped off there, they're not going to go to the bus shelter. If they go to the school, they're not picked up because the bus goes that way. So the children would be standing on the left-hand side of the road, not in the bus shelter.
Okay, but anyhow, it's in the week. What do you think of the suggestion of a notice in it?
I think we do. If we put a note that we did when took out street lights down Spike Road, put it in there for a couple of so months, put it on Facebook, put it on the website that the council's proposing to do that. If you use
I can go and put a notice in there.
Yeah.
And laminate, I can laminate it and then put
If
my
one person,
contact
if
details.
one person comes back and says, "I use the bus shelter," then it's obviously not worth it. No.
Okay, so can we approve Tim's costs for the Lakes End bus shelter and the freehold sign? All those in favour? Thank you.
Just going to make a point, with regard to the freehold village sign, I will be taking the actual sign part down myself and cleaning that all up and refurbishing it. Tim's got to be doing the post and the brackets and the base. So that's sort of, I did it last time, and I can't remember how many years ago it was that I refurbished it all, so it's overdue for one.
It's not painted, is it?
Sorry?
It's not painted, is
No.
it?
It's got loads of traffic grime and everything all on it, so it wants good clean and water.
Are you happy to tell Tim?
Yeah, I'll
Yeah.
go there, yeah.
Fab.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Andrew. I've got my eye on the clock. Health and safety, anybody got any health and safety issues that need to be brought to council's attention?
The only thing that I've come across all the time is the very tall fence on the bend down the bottom, small load and Hellbite Bank. It's completely really dangerous. I've seen twice I've been in an accident there, because people come charging around there, you just can't see around there at all.
Small loading warehouse, sorry.
Hellbite Bank, it's Chalk Road or Hellbite Bank, I don't know what it's called.
That was part of a planning application, which the gentleman, after a lot of controversy and lots of rejections from Parish Council, I think he withdrew his application, but the fence obviously is still there.
Still there,
But
yes.
the fence didn't comply with highway requirements for coming out of the property, so
What's the legal requirement? A metre, isn't it?
I think it's a metre high,
Yeah.
but where you're coming out of somewhere.
Right.
And he withdrew the planning application, but the fencing is still all there.
Yeah. But it's made a really dangerous bend.
I know, very well. We need to contact the borough and highways and ask them what action is being taken.
Yeah.
Thank you, Bill. Any other health and safety issues? Andrew?
Regarding the whole health and safety thing, I've looked at which is under my remit, the landing stage at Freeholds. Do I fill a form in, or do I just tell them that I've looked at the landing stage at Freeholds and it's all okay, or what is? I sort of lost track of what the procedure is, because I know we all have responsibilities for monthly, annually, weekly, or whatever.
Yeah, do you remember the forms that you used to have? And then you would tick on there and say, so Pru and Colin definitely used them, and Pru would say hers was the cemetery bench, she would put on there, everything else is fine, but the cemetery bench needs restaining.
I haven't got anything like that.
Shall I send you some?
Yeah.
If you recirculate the HNS sheets,
Yeah.
I know you one from me in March, but yes, if you would just fill them in, please, and just email them back to Melanie.
I went and looked at it and thought, well, it's fine, but what do I do now?
Yes.
Yeah, if you on there you just tick it and then right everything's all okay, then I just file all of those away,
Right.
and at least I know that say in March everything was fine there.
Yeah, okay.
Might change in April, but at least at that point it's
Yeah.
fine.
Okay.
I'll recirculate those out.
Yeah, thank you.
Right, unless there's anything else, finance, the payments were authorised, they were a bit late, but they did go through.
They did go through. There was
And everybody's
nothing
seen the
particularly
payments.
exciting on there.
No.
You'll see the ICO subscription, which is your GDPR, is going out. We've had one lady leave the allotments, so that was a refund to her, and everything else was pretty much as normal.
Any comments? If not, the cash book has been circulated as has QPA.
Yeah, it is indeed. So, cash book. So as you know, we're now at the end of the financial year. So I will soon be doing the accounts. Cash book. Cemeteries slowed down, thank goodness. But we now seem to be getting all the headstones rather than burials and cremations now, so that's now starting to catch up. We've had a couple of payments in for the magazine, and other than that, nothing to report. QPAB. We haven't done bad really, considering we've had a busy year. Anything that I thought there was any sort of anomaly on, I've put an indicator on. I think there's only one. So the new traffic mirror I mentioned on there, because obviously that wasn't in the budget. The tree removal that we had done at the garden allotment, so that obviously took that well over, because again we hadn't budgeted for that this year. And then the final bit under contingency, other miscellaneous, is for the white lines for the races, for the Queen's Jubilee, and we bought a couple of little bits for the Sam2 camera. And that's it.
Everybody having that? Okay, thank you. Moving on, concerns and councillors and general correspondence. There's nothing on the agenda. Upwell. Andrew. Oh, sorry.
That's right, no, well, potential first.
I'm going to ask that either via ROS or directly that we write a letter to the community service supervisors and group thanking them for the work they've done at the garden allotments, because they've done a terrific job of clearing up so far and tackling the dike and everything. It's been really quite good down there now.
Absolutely.
I have actually passed on that letter, I can't remember what her name was, the lady who emailed.
Oh, Emma.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
have passed that on to Stephen Taylor, but he's away at the moment, but
Yeah.
I will make sure they know. But it's unbelievable what's in that dike.
There's still a lot to do, but I think
Absolutely
thank them
unbelievable.
for what they've done so far. They've done a lot of hard work down there. And I know Rob has been very
If I
involved.
put a letter together, can I give it to you,
Yes.
Ross? Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, just one thing I wanted to bring up, it's kind of in relation to parish maintenance, also health and safety really, but one of my agreements on health and safety is the bus stops, or bus stop at Tanley. Being that it's a not timber bus stop and it's a polycarbonate, it's absolutely filthy. So I just wondered if I could suggest that we maybe look at paying a window cleaner once a month to give it a clean over, because the seats are filthy. I mean, I've been down to give it a wipe, but because it's on the main road, it just constantly battered. I've spoken to two local window cleaners, got two quotes. One's come in at £60, one's come in at 15. So, which was quite a big, yeah, which was quite a big difference. But I just wanted to put it to you guys that whether you think that's a good idea or not. That one and the one at Ravs, both polycarbonate.
I think we could ask Tim to do that, because on occasion when the one at opposite Rowton School Road has got green algae on it, Tim has cleaned it, and this one, when it had some graffiti put on it, Tim has cleaned it. So I'm sure if we ask Tim to put that on his to-do list regularly,
Yes.
I'm sure Tim would fit that in. So
Yeah, no, that's fine.
council's happy for me to ask him.
Yes, because I'm sure that he visits bus shelters monthly anyway.
Yeah,
So
yeah, I think
he
it's,
takes a bucket of water.
yeah.
But it is is absolutely disgusting because it's on the main road. I understand that.
Yes.
But to go down there and do a health and safety check on it, yes, it's all fine, apart from you wouldn't want to sit there or touch it. So,
if council's happy, I'll ask him to put that on his job list.
okay, is that excuse me for being ignorant, but is Tim's job list incorporated in a set fee a month or?
No, he charges per hour, and he has set jobs, so he's emptying the bins and doing the side of the road and the centre of the village, everything clears out. But if there's anything else as per his hourly rate, what we ask him to. So he's done it before, so he knows how to do it.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Yeah, I wasn't aware that anyone had done it, so.
And also Tim would report to me if there was a breakage, if the following time that sheet got broken or smashed, and when he went to clean it, something, he noticed something was amiss with it, he reported to me, so that's got health and safety as well.
Yeah.
Right, anything else, Ross?
I was just going to ask, would that cost more than £15 for Tim to do it?
You pay Tim £12 an hour, so.
Yeah, but how long would it take Tim to do it compared to winter clean? That's what I was going to ask.
Yeah,
£15.
£15 per claim.
I think Tim would really do it in an hour.
Yeah, plus you've got the advantage in reporting back to you as well, in addition.
I mean, you sort of, I think I don't they accumulate leaves at the old Lakes End and Cross Road would, because they were close, so leaves sort of blow through, but well, I can ask Tim how much he would think, how long it would take, because it takes him an hour.
I was thinking how long Tim thinks it will take is really, and then we can make a decision on whether to get him to do it or
Yeah.
if we don't need to do it.
We can do that by an email through the finance committee if we want, because it's a finance decision, isn't it? So,
Yes.
Yeah.
No, thank you for bringing it up,
No
Ross.
problem.
yeah, that's no problem. Yeah, I'll ask him.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Right, anything else before for Upwell otherwise it's Lakes End? Any Lakes End issues?
Yes, indeed. They have an open day on the 16th, and the Mayor of King's Lynn, Harry Humphrey, is going to be opening it at 9:45.
Harry is now the mayor of King's Lynn.
Yes.
Well, congratulations, Harry.
They're currently working on some refurbishment inside the village hall, redoing the toilets and things like that, but they need to get someone to do the repairs to the roof. Some minor electrical work's been carried out, but they still haven't got a RCD which covers the people in the sewing committee, which was a truck. That's something I've asked them to look into because I'm promising them some money from the council's grant this year. About £30,000.
As many of us as possible to attend their, what do they call it? Their event on the 16th.
Yes, sir, day basically.
Yes, they've got a fete and stalls and things.
That's
haven't
right,
they?
yeah, and that's what we do. So, anyway, the support will be most appreciated.
Right, thank you. If there's nothing else for Lakes End, 3 holes.
I think the Susan Company problem, we've got the 3 holes, haven't we, so, would it be possible to have do you want to say anything else about the 3 holes?
Sue, you have permission to speak if you wish.
Just that as soon as I get copies of the printed letter that are going to residents, users and hirers, I will send that on. Just to say we're short of
Well, as you said earlier, everything.
we're short of everything yet. We haven't got a solution in place for how we're going to afford the increased power costs. So this is all being, we're asking the community to look at all these things.
In addition to that, the flat part roof,
Yep.
that is, it's got to the end of its life and it was underspecified, the timbers were unspecified as per building control regulations would require. So we're looking at getting a silver line to replenish that, but we have to get some answers to these first questions first before we consider spending money.
Okay. Thank you. If there is anything else for 3 hours, members of the council? Then items for next month's agenda to bear
actually vote or adopt the terms of reference for the Village Hall. So we need that on the agenda for next month.
Right, thank you.
And we should probably have 3 holes Village Hall on the agenda next month as well. But, what we get from this letter is, perhaps as a council we should understand what being custodian trustees and all those sorts of things mean.
If I can liaise with you, so you can then,
So the date of the next meeting, the parish, it's not the annual parish meeting, it's the annual general meeting of the council will be at 6:30.
it's not called the AGM anymore. That's why,
Oh, that's
but it gets very confusing with the names.
right.
But yes, so it'll be the earliest start at 6:30.
Followed by the council meeting. Right. Thank you, everybody. Now we can close the meeting at 9:36.
8:36.
Some.